Welcome back, sports fans. Mike Kretz here. Big news in football for CMU. In fact, probably the biggest story of the day in all of Division II football. Coach Tremaine Jackson has resigned as the head football coach for the Mavericks and is headed south to Georgia to take the reins of this past season's Division II national runner-up, the Valdosta State Blazers. The news became official at noon today when Valdosta State's athletic director made the announcement via the Blazers athletic website. Shortly after CMU announced the resignation, Coach Jackson, he completed just 2 seasons with the Mavericks. You'll remember the 2020 campaign was all but lost to COVID. Only 3 games played that year. Let's go through a quick little timeline. And of course, it starts in 2019, December. Coach Jackson was hired as the 19th head coach in program history, the first African-American head coach for the Mavs as well. October of 2020, Coach Jackson earned his first win in his coaching debut, topping Chadron State in overtime 10-7. Just a few weeks later, though, suffered his first loss at the helm, falling to SD Mines. We didn't know it at the time, but that would also be the last game of the 2020 season. To 2021 we go. That's when things really took off for the Mavericks. In October, Coach Jackson became part of RMAC history. For the first time in the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference, 2 black head football coaches met when CMU took on Adams State, coached by Jarrell Harrison. Of course, there's also that signature win coming on homecoming this year against nationally ranked Colorado Mines, CMU's first win over a top 5 opponent since making the jump to Division II. And then, well, there's today with word Coach Jackson has officially resigned and Mesa's search for their 20th head coach begins. Let's talk a little bit about the jump. A sizable one for Coach Jackson when you consider Coach Jackson just 2 seasons ago was a defensive line coach at Texas State University, now taking the helm of Valdosta State, a perennial D2 powerhouse program. This past season's runner-up in the national championship game, national champions in 2018. He'll be replacing Coach Gary Goff, who's off to McNeese. I said it was a big jump for Coach Jackson, but he takes a pretty nice resume along with him. Consider the Mavericks' overall record 10-3 the past 2 seasons. 2 of those 3 losses coming to nationally ranked opponents. This past season, the Mavs finished 13th in scoring defense, allowing just under 16 points per game, 34th in offense, averaging nearly 34 points a contest as well. Here's a snapshot of his credentials outside of CMU. 2019 D-line coach at Texas State University. Before that, 2 seasons at Abilene Christian as the Wildcats defensive coordinator. He undertook that job after 3 seasons as the assistant head coach and D coordinator at Sioux Falls. Yeah, well, that's the news as we have it. To help us break down what all that means, let's bring in a resident football expert, former CMU player, not just any player, remember the CMU all-decade team, Antonio Clark. Antonio, what's your initial reaction?
My initial reaction is just, first off, my heart goes out to the players. They've already had a lot of these players that have been here with the previous coaching staff, Coach Martin. This is 2 coaching staff changes in 3 seasons worth of time. That's a lot of turnover. And the guys that he brought in, you know, they all came here probably thinking they're going to spend the next 3 or 4 years of their lives here playing for this coach, and now he's gone. Where do they go from here? So my first thing, my heart just goes out to the players. That's my initial reaction.
Well, you're someone who's close with those players. As a matter of fact, you've played with teammates that Coach Jackson has coached. What legacy does Coach Jackson leave behind?
I think he leaves a legacy of just fiery competitiveness. You know, Coach Jackson always kind of embraced like he said, the dog mentality. You know, he always took the mentality that people didn't believe in his teams and whatnot. And I think his players embody that. I think they like that underdog mentality and proving people wrong. So I think he leaves them with that, you know, that ability to want to just prove people wrong.
Yeah, you got it. As far as Colorado Mesa is concerned, now obviously they have a vacancy now. What should the selection committee be looking for when it comes to their next head coach?
I think the single most important thing is just you want to find somebody that wants to be here, that wants to be here for the long haul. This town, this city, that school, those players, that program, they deserve somebody that really wants to build this into the national championship program it could be. It's a sleeping giant. So you want to find somebody that's, you know, young. I personally think a young guy, but somebody that you just know wants to be here. They're not looking to get a new job and, you know, bounce up to the next level.
Yeah, you got it. Well, hey, thank you, Antonio, for joining us, and thank you for joining us. That's all the time we have for Sports. For Antonio Clark, I'm Mike Kretz. We'll see you then.